Because of what? And because of that, I gave this book 3. And because of that, please don't tell me it's raining. I don't want it to rain. Both perpetrators, the book number 4 of March 2009, and this was a copy table book. I gave this book 3. Becoming my Michelle Obama. Becoming my The last book that I read in May, Murder on the Orient Express, the murder on what? Hey guys, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with my March wrap-up. I'm pretty happy with how my March reading went because I managed to finish 16 books. One of them was a very short book. It was a short story more like, but it was listed on Goodreads, so I'm considering that as a book. I had originally planned to take part in the Fem March Fest hosted by Aritri over at the Liquid Sunset, as you would have seen by my Fem March Fest TBR, but I couldn't keep it up till the very end. As you know, I'm a very impulsive reader. I pick books based on my mood, and that's exactly what happened. Plus, a couple of other books that I picked were because I had to review them for a newspaper, and that was not something that I could have avoided anyway. But of the 16 books that I read, I managed to read 14 women authors, so I'm thinking that's a pretty successful one. At least I want to think that it's a successful Fem March Fest for me. But that's okay, I think, because of these 16 books, I've read some very powerful ones and I love them. So without further ado, let's get into this video and let me share with you the list of books that I read in March 2019. The first book that I read in March 2019 was A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And this is the first in the Time Quintet, if I'm not wrong, and this is a children's fantasy novel and it involves time travel, if the title hasn't already told you. The thing is, it's a very enjoyable book, but it's very forgettable, and I didn't think that there was something very remarkable about it. I don't know, there are many people who swear by it, but I didn't think it to be so awesome, so amazing. And Charles and Meg's travels through time to find their lost father. It seems like a very touching subject, but it wasn't as great as I was hoping it would be. But still, I enjoyed it while I read it. After that, I promptly forgot all about it. And because of that, I gave this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. The second book that I read in March 2019 was The Anatomy of Hate by Revati Lal. This is the account of the 2002 Gujarat riots told from the perspective of 3 of the mobsters. I felt like this was not a fairly written account of what transpired back then, because it felt like it concentrated only on one community's wrongdoings, while the other community's wrongdoings were just swept under the mat, just fleeting glances here and there, and that's really not fair. See, if you had given me a balanced account of what happened and whether the perpetrators of both crimes were held to account, then I would have been like, okay, fine, that would have been completely okay with me. But you cannot separate this from that and say the anatomy of hate. You can't just say that one person is hating the other without talking about what the other person did in the first place, because both of them are connected. And I'm not saying that it is a cause and effect thing, but come on. I gave The Anatomy of Hate 3 out of 5 stars. The third book that I read in March 2019 was The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This was part of the 12 books that I want to read in 2019 list that I had made, as well as part of the Fem March Fest TBR. And this is such a magical love story, I would say. And the way the author has woven words, she's given explanations for everything that happens. It simply blew my mind, and I felt myself getting pulled into that, enormous circus. And I felt myself navigating those tents and just walking around, eating candies and looking at all the amazing acts that they had up. And to experience it all in my head, it was magical. I know I keep using that word over and over again, but read this book and you will see why I keep saying it was magical, because it is magic. There are many people who don't like this book, they hate it, but I loved it, and I don't think a better love story has been written around this topic. It's that amazing. I give The Night Circus 4.5 out of 5 stars. Book number 4 of March 2019 was Spirits in a Spice Jar by Sarita Kamini. This book shows the love that the author has for food and how her love for food actually bridged the gap between her and her parents, and how she came to accept things and how she came to, give out more love in the name of food. And it did help her in a number of ways, but the way the narrative has been written, it is far too annoying for me to go ahead and say, okay, this is the author's own personal work, so I'm going to go ahead and cut it some slack. I'm really sorry about this, but it felt very pretentious to me. It felt repetitive, it felt pointless in many places. Big words were used unnecessarily, and it simply didn't find the mark. I gave Spirits in a Spice Jar 2 out of 5 stars. Book number 5 of March 2019 was Gandhi's Vision, Freedom and Beyond by Professor Aparna Basu, and this was a coffee table book that I had to review for a newspaper, and I enjoyed reading this book, but I also was annoyed because I'm not someone who agrees with Mahatma Gandhi's ideals. But then this book has a lot of historical pictures too, from the freedom struggle, from Gandhi's life, and also of other freedom fighters. It's not like they have been given a backseat, but they are here, and his vision for India and how India should function to become a good democracy is something that was commendable. But he was not someone who upheld those same ideals. He did as he wished, and he changed them according to his whims and fancies. But despite that, I did enjoy going through this book, and purely because of the pictures, I gave this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. My 6th read of March 2019 was Sleeping with the Arch Rivals by Padmini Datta Sharma. This is the book that paints the picture of how things are and how they should be, both literally and metaphorically and emotionally, if you would like to put it. And though there are a lot of misplaced phrases that are not used the right way at all, which becomes annoying after a while, I think what the author is trying to say is how the world can become a better place. Book number 7 of March 2019 was the audiobook for Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, written by J.K. Rowling and narrated by Stephen Fry, and I enjoyed this book like no other. No, not exactly no other. I've enjoyed the first 3 Harry Potter books too, on audiobooks, on Storytel, and this was something else altogether because the way Stephen Fry narrated the tasks, it just gave me goosebumps, and that's what Stephen Fry does every single time. So there's no question of what rating I gave this book. Absolutely no question, because I gave this a full 5 out of 5 stars. My 8th read of March 2019 was The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, and what a book. What a brilliant book. It talks about a topic that needs to be talked about more. It talks about racism. It talks about how black people are treated, how black people are thought of as thugs. And to see the positivity that's brimming from this book, the strength, the energy that's coming out of this, even though I've never faced such a situation before, I just feel connected to Star and her family and to every single person out there who's been discriminated against. I will definitely give it another read, and I don't know when, and this is one of my very few 5-star reads of 2019. Book number 9 of March 2019 was Dumplin' by Julie Murphy. I really wanted to love this book because of the subject, but somehow I felt like the writing was very amateur, uninvolved. Maybe it was just me, but I didn't find something new in here. It felt like a mix of many other YA novels, just saying that the main character was fat, that's it. Yes, I do agree that motivation can be found in this book, but I just didn't find it as much as everybody else has been talking about it. I gave Dumplin' 3 out of 5 stars. My 10th read of March 2019 was Karno's Daughter by Rimli Sengupta, and I love this book so much. It is such an amazingly written narrative. It's about an Indian maid and her life, and how she navigates through her life in the village as well as her life in the city, and how she handles the both, how she is duped, how government officials take advantage of their illiteracy, and not only government officials, men who are looking at her land, who want to purchase her land, they also dupe her. Try to dupe her at least. And it's lovely to read. It's heartbreaking, it's informative, and it opens your eyes to a different world altogether. I gave Karno's Daughter 4.5 out of 5 stars. My 11th read of March 2019 was When I Hit My Caste by Baburao Bagal and translated into English by Jerry Pinto. Jerry Pinto's book M and the Big Home was something that I absolutely loved when I read it last year, and to see that he had brought a Marathi book into English was something that I was looking forward to read a lot. And this book is a collection of short stories about the lives of Dalits and how they were treated. The original one came out in 1963, and as you know, back then the status of Dalits was not that great. They were not treated as humans, and reading about it breaks your heart. But the thing is, this translation is a bit off, and I felt like the originals would be so much better. They were not done justice to, in my opinion. And while they are not bad, the translations, a couple of stories are very heartbreaking, but they're not at the Jerry Pinto level of language, and that's something that really unsettled me while I was reading this book. I give this book 3 out of 5 stars. My 12th read of March 2019 was The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty, and I enjoyed this book to no end. Yes, the narrative was a little dragged out, I felt, and the characters were a little repetitively speaking their dialogues, and that's about the only fault that I could find. But the language flows, it's really amazing. She writes really well, and to read a magical fantasy like this one, it's not something I've ever seen before. It's so original, so wonderful that I can't wait to read The Kingdom of Copper, but I can't buy it right now. I gave The City of Brass 4 out of 5 stars. Book number 13 was Birthday Girl by Haruki Murakami. I had thought Kafka on the Shore or Killing a Metaphor would be my foray into Haruki Murakami's books, but it was to be Birthday Girl. This is the story of a girl who's celebrating her 20th birthday. She works in a hotel and she comes across something that will change her life. It seems pretty simple, but it really is not. I had to actually do some research about the story before finally understanding what it was. But I did enjoy reading the story, and now I'm really excited to start reading Killing Commendator, which I hope to read in April. Birthday Girl is a short story, but it's listed on Goodreads as a book, so I'm considering that as one book. I gave Birthday Girl 4 out of 5 stars. My 14th read of March 2019 was When I Hit You by Meena Kandasamy, and this is the story of physical and mental abuse meted out by her husband on the narrator of this book, and the number of ways that you can do that will actually shock you. And through this book you get a chance to put yourself in the shoes of a domestic abuse victim and see how it feels to be denied every right and to be treated as a servant, a sex slave, and just isolated from the world just because one person thinks it's right to do so. And the torture is endless, completely endless, and you see the pattern and you say, oh my god. And I cried at the end of this book. Torture does not only include physical torture, mental torture is also torture. The amount of stress that your mind gets, it is enough to make you go insane. I gave When I Hit You 4.5 out of 5 stars. My 15th read of March 2019, which was also a part of the 12 books that I want to read in 2019, was Becoming by Michelle Obama. I don't even have to say anything because Michelle Obama is such a motivational woman in her own stead. It's not only because of Barack Obama that we know her, but even otherwise, I'm damn sure that she would have been someone who we knew and respected. And now that she's more in the public eye and we know more about what she does and how she is and how she talks with everyone, we respect her even more. And reading this book and reading about her life is also something like that. How she rose from Chicago to become the first lady, and more importantly, a lady in her own stead. Like, she does things that inspire women across the world. There's no two ways about it. And reading about her life was so inspiring. I just cannot tell you how much. I have to say that around the halfway mark the narrative dragged a little bit, but after that it just picked up again and I absolutely loved it. Like from start to finish, there were only about 50 to 60 pages where I was like, why is this taking me so long to read? And then I just finished it like that. Because of this lady and because of the narrative that is so inspirational, I give this book 4 out of 5 stars. The 16th and last book that I read in March 2019 was The Clocks by Agatha Christie. This was a quick read for me because Agatha Christie always is, because everything is happening just like this in her books. And this is obviously a murder mystery, and a dead body ends up in a house where it's not supposed to be, and then there are also people who end up where they are not supposed to be, and there are clocks around them. That's a really bad gist of this book, but if you read it, you'll understand that it's exactly what happens in here. Compared to the other Agatha Christie books, this is not that great. And yes, I have very high standards from Agatha Christie because of Murder on the Orient Express, The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, and NRM, Nemesis, and all these books are written amazingly well. And this one was a super disappointment for me for some reason. And I understood that you could have a favorite author, but it's not necessary that you like all of their works. This is proof of that. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. So those were the books that I read in March 2019. Which ones have you read? Which ones do you want to read? Which ones did you read in March? Which ones do you plan to read in April? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe, because I could use all the love that comes my way. These past few days have been not so encouraging. So please, if you'd like to buy any of these books, please do so by using the Amazon affiliate links in the description box below. The price remains the same for you, but I get a small commission off of every purchase that you make, so help me out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.